Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Happy, Healthy, and Healing podcast. My name is Stacey, and I'm your host. And I work with high functioning, capable women who look like they've got it all together on the outside, and though inside they're overthinking, second guessing, and quietly exhausted from holding it all together. Most of the women I work with are self aware. However, they're so sick and tired of living in their heads. My work focuses on identity shifts, nervous system regulation, and rebuilding self trust at its core. I'm not about surface level mindset hacks or affirmations. I'm actually about the deeper patterns that are keeping women stuck in their roles, in their lives that they have outgrown. And through my one-on-one coaching and my retreats, I help women step out of that survival mode and reconnect to who they actually are and what they actually want underneath all the labels. So if you're ready to feel calmer, clearer, and more in control of your life, you've landed in the right place. Let's dive in. So today's episode is actually based off a conversation I had with a client this morning, and this was around attaching her confidence and self-worth to achievement. Now, on the surface level, she didn't see this pattern whatsoever. However, once we deep dived in, she was like, "Stacey, what are you doing? My brain is hurting." She's like, "I can't believe I didn't see it before." And that's because I've helped her to expand what actually confidence is underneath it all. Because so many women tie confidence to the things they do, to the achievements, to the labels that they hold. They tie it to something external. And though confidence, we want to reshift it to actually being an internal marker. So we're going to get into that in today's episode. As always, life updates. I can't remember if I shared last week. However, my boys had a complete meltdown at kindy and my heart was breaking. And though so far, I don't want to say it out loud, however I will, is that they've actually had a few successful days. Actually, this morning, really were looking forward to going. Like they were putting themselves in the car half an hour early. So that warms my heart up. I also have a couple of retreats popping up and I've booked in 2 more for the end of the year. So working towards those. I had this big drop in this morning that I was like, "Stacey, you just need to keep going with events." Like, yes, one-on-one coaching is incredible. However, so many women are feeling so disconnected. So it's like, let's focus on that. So back to my client's conversation this morning. We were speaking into confidence and how that shifted throughout her life. Like as a child, she was quite confident, teenagehood, early 20s even. And then things started to shift once she got into her marriage and had kids. And we got down to the pivotal point was actually becoming a mum and, her body changing, her life changing, her priorities changing. And there was a lot of change. And this was the point that she feels it started to impact her confidence. However, when we looked back, it actually didn't start then. It all started back when she was a young girl in primary school. And her dad would often say to her, especially around sport, "You did this well, but you could have done this better." And not only just once would he say that to her, it would be repeated again and again. And, later in the week, it'd be the same conversation. "Oh, when you did that, well, you could have done this better. And maybe next time to do that." This isn't about blaming her dad or anything like that. Her dad was literally doing the best that he knew how. And he was lovingly trying to support her. However, when you attach, "You did this well, but," and then you give some form of criticism, because that's really what it is, even though it's, constructive feedback or constructive criticism, what happens when we're children is we attach and we forget all about the positive stuff that they said before the but. As soon as you say the but, it negates everything before that. So if you have kids, or even if you do this to your friends or your loved ones or your coworkers, I want you to really start to notice that this week. So from this simple thing that her dad was lovingly doing to her and, supporting his daughter, what she actually learned, and this is the same for so many women that I speak to, is that love comes after performance, approval comes after achievement, and confidence comes after doing something impressive. So when I asked her, "Okay, what is confidence to you?" she started to list out all these things that she had achieved. "I felt confident when I did this, when I achieved this, when this happened." And I said, "Okay, let's remove all of that. Let's take all of that achievement away and all of the external resources of confidence. And what is confidence to you?" And she literally sat there and she was like, "Stace, what are you doing?" She's like, "Why is this so hard?" And I replied to her that this is challenging because women, especially, we've been conditioned to tie our confidence to achieving things or, being perfect or how our house looks, how our kids behave. Like we've tied confidence to things outside of ourselves. We were never taught that confidence is an internal thing. It's an internal resource. And it's a feeling. And if it's a feeling, we can shift into confidence whenever we want. If you think about it, if you're really sad and then you watch a happy movie and you start laughing, you've shifted from sadness to happiness. And it's a temporary feeling. You've shifted from one to another. And that's the same with confidence. Confidence can be a temporary thing. However, a lot of women have the expectation that they have to feel confident all the time. They have to feel ready all the time. They have to feel calm all the time. And it's that all or nothing behavior. Again, another layer to this confidence thing is that women are putting so much pressure and all these expectations on themselves. And really, if you are living that perfect life where you're always calm, everything's in the right place, you've got all your shit together, I guarantee that that will be the surface level. What's actually going on underneath for you to be actually able to hold that all in? You're probably suppressing a lot of emotion, suppressing feelings, thoughts. You're masking, to fit in, to hide your behaviors or things that you think people will judge you about. Like, can you imagine that pressure? And I know some of you listening will be like, yeah, that's me every day. And so this is why, it hit me so hard when my client was like, I don't know what confidence is outside of doing things or achieving things, because I know she's not alone in it. And I know that was me not so long ago. Most women don't actually, the interesting thing that I find with women that I work with and women that I know is that they don't actually struggle with competence. They can execute, they can deliver, they can push through discomfort to a certain point, they can achieve the goals. And then though, when I ask them the deeper questions, like, do you feel confident before you achieve something? Or do you only feel confident after achieving it? Most of the time they'll say after, that confidence is like a reward for doing the thing. It's almost like a dopamine hit when you think about it. And sometimes that can be a really positive confidence hit. Like you go to the gym, you feel great, so you feel more confident throughout your day. That's a positive reinforcement. However, sometimes it can also have a negative reinforcement as well. So if women have tied it to only feel confident after I achieve the thing, they'll hit the goal and then they'll chase the next thing, because somewhere along the line, their nervous system, their brain has learned, I'm safe when I'm succeeding. People like me when I'm succeeding. I'm accepted, I'm loved when I achieve all these things. And so it's not really ambition, it's actually attaching your worth to doing something. Now, if you're like, yep, Stacey, this sounds like me, I want you to actually reflect on childhood. Reflect on the things you say to your kids now if you have kids. Maybe it was not about sport. Maybe it was at school, like, oh, you're so smart. Imagine what you could do if you applied yourself a bit harder, if you studied harder. Something so subtle, which is, our parents are trying to be supportive, can actually turn to, we're proud of you, but only when you win, or only when you get this award. So your brain actually builds a formula. Performance equals approval, achievement equals safety, and doing well equals valued. And so without even realizing it, you actually internalize, if I stop achieving, I'll stop being loved or liked. And logically, that's not true. I know you don't sit there and think that. However, your body doesn't work on logic. Your body actually works on patterns, whether they're good or bad patterns. It reinforces whatever is the safest and easiest option for you. So I want you to ask yourself the uncomfortable question this week. And if you don't know where to start, just reach out. If you stripped away the titles, the awards, the achievements, the productivity, the income, the progress, the praise, the results, if you stripped it all back, who are you? Do you still feel solid and confident in yourself? Would you still feel worthy if you had nothing? Or would something inside you feel exposed? And this is where most women start to panic, or they don't know what the answer is. They go blank because they've never been asked to define confidence outside of doing. So I want you to do that task, and then we want to reframe that, and we want to shift your perspective slowly. And it may not happen overnight, and that's okay, because you're going to pick up on times where you're attaching how you're feeling, your confidence to things that you're doing. It's a rewiring process. And we want to rewire that confidence isn't I'm achieving something. We want to rewire that to confidence is I'm okay in myself even when nothing is happening. Or confidence might be that I can sit still and I can feel that without needing to prove anything or do anything. Or confidence might be I trust myself when I'm not proving anything. And if that feels uncomfortable, to strip back all the layers and feel confident just as you are, that's the awareness that we want to create. Because from here, we can start to break down the layers. Like my favorite analogy, the onion. So if we think about this on another level, if you were taught that love is conditional, or you only receive love when you achieve things, this is why rest can feel like danger for so many women. Like, I can't tell you how many women that I talk to and they're like, oh, Stacey, I just can't sit still. And this isn't a conscious pattern that they think about. It is literally like a primal urge that they cannot sit down on the couch. Or if they do sit on the couch, they've got to scroll social media. They're not actually present with themselves or their thoughts or their loved ones even. So if your identity is built on your output, stillness can feel like exposure or feel unsafe. Now, again, I need you to remember that when I talk about being safe or unsafe, most of the time isn't a conscious thought. This is your body acting on auto response. And I know this because for a long time, I couldn't sit still. I couldn't just be. It was a real effort. And I used to tell myself, oh, meditation doesn't work for me. It's a waste of time. It's not productive. And that was the problem because when things went quiet, the head noise would start. It would get louder. It would get louder and I would spiral and spiral and, just end up in an anxious mess. So if you've never learnt to actually be still and separate your worth from who you are to your performance or achieving things, this can feel really destabilizing. So what happens instead is you stay busy, you do the next thing, achieve the next thing, go do the next course, and it just continues. And I'm going to say it's most of the time not because you love to hustle, you love to get shit done. It's because you can't actually be still and you can't be with yourself. It's just a protection mode. Now, I'm not saying you need to go and meditate for half an hour and start there. Okay, I very rarely meditate for half an hour. However, start small. Start in smaller increments. And now, because I've practiced it while I'm calm, while I have the space, I've implemented into small parts of my day. It's like I can actually feel when I'm going back into that mode of getting in my head and doing and attaching to my worth. Because I know and I've crossed and I've towed that line so many times that when I get to that point, it's very easy to get into burnout and go downhill. And so now for me, I go, okay, this is actually about prevention and it's safe. It's okay to do that. I don't have to push myself to extremes. So the next part of the task that I want you to do this week, after you've listed what confidence is outside all of the things, I want you to go back and think about when was the last time you actually felt confident without doing something first. Go back 5 years, 10 years, even go back 2 weeks, whenever the last time was that you felt confident. And if you can't remember, maybe think about when was the last time that you thought, hey, I actually like myself. Hey, I'm actually proud of myself, and see where that attaches to, because there's a massive difference between I like who I am and I like what I've done. And if you feel like those lines are a little bit blurred, this is literally the conditioning. This is all of the beliefs that you've created as a child somewhere from people around you, not intentionally from a lot of those people. However, they've created your rose-tinted glasses to the world, the way you perceive yourself and others and the way you respond. Like if you've grown up with a massive I'm not good enough filter, like I know that was my favorite flavor, then you will go into this world and attack every situation with I'm not good enough. So what we want to do is slowly rewire it. And I wish I could just wave a magic wand and say I'll get rid of it forever. However, it does take work. I've been through massive breakthroughs in my own journey, and it still creeps up every now and again. And I have to go back to my tools and my resources to actually work through it. And that's the point. Because when it pops up is generally when I'm about to hit a glass ceiling and go to that next level, that next version, that next chapter of me. It's kind of like, Stacey, you're going to be safe? You're going to stay there? And I'm like, no, I'm pushing through. And I wish it was that easy. Sometimes most of the time it's a lot more messy than that. However, I can pull myself out of my head and get through it. And that's the whole point. We're here to experience life, not just flatline into not feeling and being numb. So the next part of this is, I hope you're writing all of this down. If you're not, go back and rewind, is asking yourself and writing down, what is confidence if achievement doesn't exist? Remove money, remove goals, remove productivity, remove your career, remove the praise, the outcomes, and ask yourself, if no one was watching, if no one was clapping, if nothing was improving, who would I be? What qualities would still exist? Maybe you'd be grounded, calm, kind, honest, present, intuitive, whatever you would be, because that can be confidence as well. Sticking to your values and standing up for your values and having boundaries, that can be a part of confidence as well. Then the next thing I want you to write down is, if I stopped achieving for validation, what would I have to feel instead? And this one can be a little bit confronting because some of the answers might be like, you might have to feel insecure, uncertain, fear of irrelevance, discomfort. And that's where the work lies, is creating that safety in who you are to build that confidence instead of what you produce. Now, I just want to make this really clear. Ambition isn't wrong. Achievement isn't bad. But when your worth is attached to it, you will never fully feel confident because you are placing your confidence on things that are external to you. that you can't control fully. They're someone else's opinions, they're not your own. And because of that, confidence will always be conditional. There'll always be a but. Real confidence isn't, speaking on stages and being out there and, extroverted. Real confidence is actually quiet because it's an inner feeling. So if this episode hit home, please go back, listen again, get the questions, get the work done, and start to peel back the layers of what actually is confidence without all of the external things. And if you're struggling with that, please reach out because I can help you with that. I can help you untangle those thoughts, those beliefs, those behaviors to create the awareness, to create the integration. So you can actually feel confident regardless of what's going on around you. You get to build your confidence from the inside out. And that's a pretty powerful thing because then no one can take that away from you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If this hit you home, if this resonated, please share it with a friend. I have a mission of helping 1 million women throughout my career, through my retreats, my coaching, my programs. And so by you sharing and it having an impact on that woman, you are helping me on my mission. And if you'd like further support, please reach out. I'd love to support you, whether that's one-on-one retreats or group programs. I have something at every level for those women who are ready to work through that messy middle to get from here, where they're feeling now, to the next chapter. Thank you so much again, and I'll chat to you on the next episode.